Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody filing into the chat. Shouts out to everybody listening, no matter if you're at work, you're at home, you're on the go, wherever you are. Really do appreciate you stopping by to talk with yours truly. On this edition, we're going to be talking about Saints running back Alvin Kamara, and there's a little bit of a stalemate, no contract for AK. And what does this mean for the future of Alvin Kamara in New Orleans? Also, I'm going to be taking some of your questions and comments, and I want to give a special shout out to everybody here so far that's filing into the chat. We got Rashad here, we got Jerry here, we got Kevin, we got Dana. Strolling down a little bit more. I guess that's all we have in the chat right now. And we are very interactive here on the State of the Saints podcast. So if you just so happen to roll up to this channel, go ahead and put your comments in the chat. We would love to hear from you. It's not about having it's not about super chats. It's not about, giving anything. Like we appreciate the dialogue and we appreciate the comments. That's what we're here for, to be able to talk those things out. And you'll learn if you've just rolled up to the channel. We're very family oriented here, and we try to keep it as PG and as respectable as possible, even if we do not agree with some of the things that are said. All right, we have ways of being able to talk those things out and express ourselves in a dignified manner. And also want to give a special shout out to everybody that may check out the show when it's all said and done, after the live is all said and done. Shouts out to them after show boys.
Shouts out to them after show boys. Shouts out to them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting and be posting. They be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys.
Shouts out to all after show boys, after show girls out there. Really do appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk a little bit about AK-41, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara came to the New Orleans Saints in 2017 and has been one of the best New Orleans Saints players of all time. Upon the making of this video, he leads the team in touchdowns. And, he has been absolutely dynamic throughout the time he's been in the black and gold. But of course, we know that Alvin Kamara is looking for a new contract. He left on the third day of a mini camp, kind of like in a protest. I don't know if his agent told him to do it or he just decided to do it himself. All in all, he decided to leave because he doesn't like the way his contract is looking in 2024. He has a $10 million contract, which it says is $10 million, but he only has $1 million guaranteed. So that's not the type of money that you want to, be looking for, especially when you are getting the ball about 200 times, 200 plus times per year. So Alvin Kamara leaves, and I kind of thought that, they'll probably get this situation handled. But as of right now, it is July 16th, and there is no deal. And we are a few days away from training camp. I think Saint training camp starts on July 24th. The rookies have already reported. I think they reported today. So as far as I know, Alvin Kamara, he needs this contract, and as far as I know, there is no contract that is available right now. So the question is, like, what does this actually mean? Number one, it just means that the New Orleans Saints are probably doing their due diligence. I don't feel like the Saints are just doing this to disrespect Alvin Kamara, and maybe there is some talk behind the scenes. But the Saints want to make sure that they are stepping to Alvin Kamara correctly, but they also are going to be looking out for themselves. That's just the way organizations do. They want to make sure that the money that they're giving to said player, it matches the production. Now, I'm looking at Alvin Kamara's stats here right now, and I'll go ahead and I'll share that with you all. This is I actually Googled it. So, if it doesn't seem very accurate, it probably we'll probably check on it a little bit later. But this is the one I just kind of pulled up on short notice. But if you take a look, Alvin Kamara in 2023 had 180 carries for 694 yards. He had a 3.9 average. And I just want to make sure it's on the screen because I had to flip over to actually see it. In 2022, he had 223 carries for 897 yards, and he also had 2 touchdowns. So if you look at Alvin Kamara, he averaged about 3.9 yards per carry last season. And I just think that when you look at Alvin Kamara's stats, when you look at everything in his totality, a lot of what Alvin Kamara has been going through as far as his yard average, as far as, some of the touches that he has being meaningful, I think that is really the Saints' fault. I don't feel like it's Alvin Kamara's fault. This is what we kind of fall into that trap. We kind of feel like a player is starting to lose his luster because maybe he isn't as productive, but we're not looking at the organization. I've been talking about this for the last few episodes that we've had. This offense was terrible. The coaches that they had, they completely did overhaul. So how can you sit up here and blame Alvin Kamara for the lack of production? All the while you're changing around the offense because even you two are not believing in the production. We've had conversations about the offensive line, where this offensive line has stood over the last couple of years, has been lackluster, left a lot to be desired. So how in the world can you look at Alvin Kamara and say to yourself, oh, he has fallen off a cliff? Now, I know some Saints fans out there, they just buy anything the organization sells, or some of these reports that come out, and they're not looking at it. Sometimes we watch the games and we see what's going on, and we go to some of these shows and we are commenting in the chats, or we're calling WWL after shows, and we're talking about all of the problems that we have with the team and how we have issues with the coaches. But then when everything is all said and done, now it's time to take a look at the players. We're looking at the game plan in real time every single Sunday, on Thursday, or whenever the Saints play. And we know that it leaves a lot to be desired. Then we'll turn around and blame Alvin Kamara and say he's not the running back that he used to be. But I have been watching the New Orleans Saints since I can remember. I would say since the age of 4, because that's the time where I really remember watching this team. And I can tell you, man, watching this team growing up, you can kind of see what the issues were with the team. You didn't have to listen to Buddy D to know this. You didn't have to listen to Hokie Gajon, any of these other WWL people that were on the air, during that time. You didn't have to listen to this. You kind of knew what was going on. And I just feel like it's just absolutely ridiculous that some Saints fans are blaming Alvin Kamara and saying that the dude is washed. Now, I look at my comments and I check them out from time to time, because, you got to keep your boy humble. But at the end of the day, there are some people out here, I think it was one comment that was said to me, and I don't know who it was, but I put it out there. It said, you can't blame someone for saying that if a running back is north of 30 that they have fallen off. You can't say that, oh, you shouldn't do that. Why can't I? Like, okay, let's just say, for example, you have basketball players at the age of 34, 35 years old, right? And, you might have a player that, average about 25, 26 points. And then when he reached that age of 34, 35, his stats start to fall. But then you have players that are 34, 35, and they still playing at a high level. You cannot evaluate every single player under the same guidelines. I mean, it just doesn't work like that. And you also have to take a look at what is happening in real time before you make that assumption. That is my issue with people. Like, stop taking what these talking heads are doing, because honestly, it's lazy rhetoric, and it becomes almost like a cliche at this point when you keep on saying the same stuff. Because if you look at Alvin Kamara and you look at the way the offense is structured in New Orleans, how can anybody come away from that believing that Alvin Kamara has fallen off? Like, if you take Alvin Kamara and you put Alvin Kamara on the Miami Dolphins, you don't think that he will be one of the best running backs in the league? The Miami Dolphins, I just did a video on them on a gumbo pot breaking down their team. They were the number one offense in the entire NFL in 2023. So you think if you take Alvin Kamara and put him on the Miami Dolphins, you don't think Alvin Kamara would have had the same stat line as Raheem Mostert? 1,022 yards and 18 touchdowns. You don't think so? I do. If you put Alvin Kamara on the San Francisco 49ers, do you think that he would have a stat line kind of resembling that of a Christian McCaffrey? I do. There are things that the New Orleans Saints have done in the past with Alvin Kamara they no longer do. And we're watching this in real time, and yet we still don't want to accept it. We rather accept the fact that Alvin Kamara is washed and don't pay him. All I'm saying is give this offense an opportunity to do an overhaul. Let's see what Clint Cooper the last couple of years, and then we can have this conversation. Because I believe that the way the wide zone is structured, you give the running backs the opportunity to kind of, create their own lanes and give them options of lanes and holes to run through. I think that Alvin Kamara is going to hit it out of the park. But that's just me. Okay. I know some people just feel like, they read these articles and they just believe everything somebody else says, or, they start believing what these ESPN and these Fox Sport 1 talking heads tell them. But as for me, I watch the games and I evaluate it according to what I'm seeing. And what I see from Alvin Kamara is not his fault. I mean, how many episodes have we had about the offensive line? How many episodes have we had about Pete Carmichael? How many episodes have we had about the Saints averaging 19 points per game earlier last season, 15 points the year before that, earlier that season? But yet we're sitting up here having a conversation about Alvin Kamara's worth. To me, the reason why we're having a conversation about if Alvin Kamara needs to get paid is because of the Saints. So that's why I feel like the Saints need to come to him correctly and get this man paid. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm living on a different planet from everybody else, but I look at this team, and there are things that Alvin Kamara did when Sean Payton was the coach the Saints no longer are doing. So I think we need to take that into consideration. The Saints need to come to him correctly. Now, do I feel like Alvin Kamara should be the highest paid running back in football? He should not. He should not. But I do think that you need to come to him with a respectable contract. And for all those people that feel like you're going to smoke Alvin Kamara out, by having him missing game checks or having him missing practice and all this money starts to accumulate, if you feel like Alvin Kamara cares about that, then you're sadly mistaken. We all love Alvin Kamara's personality. Alvin Kamara is a prime example of football is what I do, is not who I am. We see Alvin Kamara doing all different types of things outside of football. He's at NASCAR events. He's at fashion weeks in Paris. He's all over, right? He marches to the beat of his own drum. When this man is playing football, he's playing football. But when he's away from it, he's just Alvin Kamara, your everyday guy. So to think that Alvin Kamara going to be sitting around missing game checks and it's going to affect him in any way, I just don't think so. I don't. I look at Alvin Kamara like an individual that would be willing to miss an entire season to stand on business. So the Saints better understand who they actually drafted and who Alvin Kamara is. And Saints fans better understand that as well. This offense needs Alvin Kamara. It needs him. It needs Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is one of the main reasons, in my opinion. I know that Clint Kubiak, he did an interview, and he said Derek Carr was the main reason he came, but I don't believe that. And even if Derek Carr played a role in Clint Kubiak showing up in New Orleans as the OC, I don't think that he was the reason. I think Alvin Kamara was. Because you can build an offense around the running game when it's featured by one of the best running backs in football in Alvin Kamara. Regardless to what the top 10 and all these prognosticators said, we had an episode yesterday on this same topic. We know that it's nothing but a popularity contest and it's just designed to appease larger market teams. So we know what Alvin Kamara is and who he is. He didn't fall off the turnip truck. He isn't washed like some people may think that he is. But you need to come to this man respectively. Point blank, period. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. Jared says, I shared the platform on my community page. Let's see. Jason says, who that TJ? What's going on, Jason? Thank you for being here. Jared said, congratulations on 500 subscribers, TJ. Yeah, thank you, man. The Gumbo Pod Sports Podcast hitting the ground running. 500 subscribers so far. We reached 500. Putting out daily content every single day. Just released an episode. We're doing 32 teams in 32 days on that channel. Today we're breaking down the Miami Dolphins. We've done 8 different teams so far. Next episode, we're going to be focused on the NFC North. So we're going to be kicking off the NFC North series real soon. So make sure y'all check that out and subscribe to the Gumbo Pot Sports Podcast channel. Giving a special shout out to Jason from Jerry. Jason says, if we don't keep Alvin this year, whatever record you have the Saints going this year, add 4 more losses to that. Well, I just think that I think that they'll probably fall into the same, record because, I mean, honestly, I don't have the Saints winning many games this season anyway, but I just think that Alvin Kamara is special, and I just think that the Saints are insane if they just think they can replicate that. I have nothing against Kendre Miller, and I have absolutely nothing against Jamal Williams, but those guys can't do what Alvin Kamara can do at this point. I do think that you have something in Kendre Miller. I do feel like Kendre Miller can be something for you. Jamal Williams, the jury is still out. I think that Jamal Williams thrives a little bit more with an offensive line that's well established. Like if you put Jamal Williams in Buffalo, I think that he will be great. Once again, you put him in Miami, you put him in Baltimore, like teams that have a well established, above average offensive line. I think he'll thrive. That's why he thrived in Detroit. Detroit has one of the best offensive lines in football. So I do think with the issues that have been plaguing the Saints offensive line, it plays a role in Jamal Williams in a way that he plays the game. But when it comes to Kendre, I think Kendre is underrated when it comes to the skill set of the running back position. Because when he was coming out of TCU was more smash mouth. So a lot of people just look at Kendre because of his size. They feel like, oh, he's just a one-cut guy. But he can catch the ball out of the backfield too. And, he has some elusivity about himself as well. So I do think that there's something there, but I don't think that he's at that point yet. Now, Kendre can prove me wrong, and I'll be happy to be wrong about that situation. But none of those guys are better than Alvin Kamara. And what the wide zone is and what it entails, I just think that you need a running back like Alvin Kamara. Because the wide zone, like if you're a average running back, like you still can find success. But when you're an above average running back in that particular system, like I just think that you can be one of the best. Like you can be flirting with Offensive Player of the Year. You can be flirting with NFC Player of the Week consistently. So there it is. If we don't keep Alvin, did already read that. Let's see. Plenty of episodes, TJ. Yeah, plenty of episodes. We'd say Jason says facts. Teddy says agreed. Charlie says TJ making move 500 subscribers already. Look, man, all I know is I enjoy doing, both platforms, State of the Saints and Gumbo Pot. And, I put a lot of hard work into the Gumbo Pot. I really do, man. I think that, based on being small potatoes, as some people may look at it, I think that the channel is pretty good. I think the content is pretty good. I do my research on what I'm talking about, and I take a lot of pride in the episodes that I put out. So if you're an NFL fan, I just ask that you subscribe to the channel. Let's see. Maybe they want to see how the team responds during a couple of games without him. Well, I mean, they did the same thing with Chris Jones with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, if anybody remember, like Chris Jones, he didn't play the entire season. I can remember one game with the Chiefs, like he was actually sitting up in the press box, but when he was on that field, man, that defense turned up and it got better, because if you notice, like when Chris Jones went out there, the team was all right, but they weren't like, top notch around this thing. But then when he came out there, he provided that spark and he was that dude. So you need those players. Like, yeah, in hindsight, they can go out there and they can perform well. And there'll be games where if you don't see Alvin out there, you're like, they did pretty good. But there's going to come a time or a run or a situation where you're going to be like, well, if they had Alvin, I think that he would have scored on that play. If they had Alvin, it probably would have been 15 yards instead of 3 yards. Like Alvin Kamara is a difference maker. There's guys that, that can make a difference, but, there's difference between making a difference and really truly just being a difference maker. Like, what I'm saying? You can go out there and catch a pass, slip behind a defender and catch the ball, but ain't nobody expecting for you to do that every game if you're, third or fourth on the depth chart. But, you're looking for somebody like Olave or one of these other top receivers to do it consistently. Jason says he should sit out if he does not get a better contract. This is probably his last chance to get a solid payday. Why would he risk injury and forfeit a chance for a better payday with a better team? Yeah, I mean, that's why I was telling people, like, you try to dangle the carrot of prosperity in the faces of some of these players, and they take it because they start sweating because they're missing game checks. But if guys carry themselves a certain way, they not spending, exhausting, they spending, and they making money with outside ventures that they have. Like, you can't dangle the carrot of prosperity in their face and say, oh, well, look how much money you missing. Like, Alvin Kamara just does not strike me as that type of individual. He just doesn't. He doesn't strike me as an individual that's just money driven, a guy that doesn't like take care of his funds, doesn't really take care of business. He doesn't strike me as that individual. He strikes me as a person that does march to the beat of his own drum, but he's saving his chickens, and when you can save your chickens, man, that's why people can't manipulate you. That's why they can't go out here and say, you better do this, you better do this, right? You don't have to, because you're doing the right things with your money. I can see how, like, there's a few players out there that I feel like would sit out the entire season and protest, like, just to stand on business. He's one of them. Like, does this guy want to get paid? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, and then also people have to understand this too. A lot of times when these guys are sitting out, they missing all these different game checks. Trust and believe, like in those contract negotiations, they're getting that money back. They're getting it back. So if they missing $500,000 total by missing games and practices and what have you, I'm pretty sure they're going to add that to the contract. I mean, at least if you have an agent that's about something, so sitting at home and missing that, like, it sounds like, oh my God, like this is horrible, but I'm pretty sure these guys making that money back. I'm pretty sure they are. But when you look at Alvin Kamara once again, I mean, I know the stat lines don't really entail it. He's still one of the best, but like I said, the 3.9 average is really, I'm looking at the offensive line when it comes to that. And we know that the Saints offensive line needs some help. Like it needs some help. It needs to get better. There's some guys that we're looking forward to seeing. Rookie Talese Fuaga more than likely will be playing the left tackle position. They moved Trevor Penning over to the right. All signs are indicating that Ryan Ramczyk will more than likely not play this season or probably ever again. You got Nick Saldiveri out there coming out of Old Dominion. I want to say last season. He's getting an opportunity to actually get some snaps. This team is trying to get athletic. They're trying to get younger on the offensive line. And if you can actually get better on the O-line, then, there's some magic that can happen here. Derek Carr will be looking forward to having a better offensive line. Him being able to make some plays. We're looking forward to seeing what the offense is going to look like with this new motion. The reporters that have been out there practice that have saw some of these practices and seeing how the Saints are using motion so much, they're excited about it. But I just want to see this team do some things consistently. I just feel like the Saints have been inconsistent over the last couple of years. They haven't really been doing the things that we have known to see them do over the last 15, 16 years. I just want to see this team get consistent. And maybe it is because a guy like Clint Kubiak is coming in with a different type of philosophy, with a different type of skill set to add to this team. To actually teach this team, maybe that's what they need. We all know what the defense is going to be. We know what Dennis Allen is. He's a defensive-minded coach. If you can have yourself an offensive-minded coach, that can coach the other side of the football, which it looks like the Saints have, and Clint Kubiak, maybe the Saints can win more games than we think. But, that remains to be seen. It doesn't seem like too many people are actually believing in the Saints. Most people that I see making podcasts or talking about the team don't really believe in the team, and it has a lot to do with Dennis Allen being the head coach and Derek Carr being the quarterback. These guys are conjoined together. That's just what it is. Like anybody that think that all of a sudden Derek Carr is going to get benched, if Derek Carr gets benched, I'll tell you this. If Derek Carr is playing like to a point where it's just like, man, this is just awful. I don't want to see this anymore. I guarantee you the only reason you're going to see that if Dennis Allen is fired earlier in the season or midway through the season. I can't see it. I don't care if Derek Carr goes out there and plays by this pedestrian as someone walking across the street. I think it will take a lot for them to even consider doing that. But let's hope it don't get to this point. I mean, it's a new season, new offense. Let's just hope that Derek Carr can actually get it together. I think that some fans are at a point where they're going to give him another opportunity to see what he has. Some fans feel like he is who he is. Let's just hope that this offense can actually get it together, and let's hope that this defense can actually, develop some of these younger guys so we don't have to be relying on the Cam Jordans of the world and these guys that have been around for I don't know how long still to try to carry this team. It's time for the young bucks to start to wake up and start carrying this team, establish themselves as the future and the cornerstones of this team. And, not be relying on these older veterans who are still good to be getting the job done. But I think I pretty much read, everybody's comments. Feel free to put them in the chat. I'll read a few more before I get up out of here. But thank you all so much for being here. I really do appreciate that. We had a really good show on last episode. We talked a little bit about Marshawn Lattimore and, him not being ranked in the top 10 among cornerbacks. Don't know what's going on with that. And we also talked about Equimedius St. Brown and his thoughts about New Orleans cuisines. That was pretty fun. That episode is up right now. You can check that one out. Let us know what you think about that episode. And also, I just ask that you hit the like button if you're watching this right now. Just help the channel to grow. Been kind of stuck at like 10,890 subscribers for quite some time. So I don't know if you're actually watching this show, and you're probably a consistent watcher. I'm just asking that you hit the subscribe button so we can get to that 10,900. All right. Hopefully by the beginning of the season, we'll be at 11,000 subscribers. But if you are a subscriber to the channel, I thank you for that. Jason says, do you see Allen sticking with Carr like Hashley stuck with Brooks? Absolutely. I don't see him benching Derek Carr. I just don't. Like, first off, we all know that these coaches don't like to make people believe that they made a mistake. And, you also have to think about, Derek Carr. I think that Derek Carr, he does have at times a fragile ego. I think that, the things that are being said, the things that, have been done, I just still feel like he takes it to heart a little bit too much to heart, in some cases. I still feel like he's still hurt by the Raiders moving on from him. And I think that if the Saints were to move in a different direction, if he wasn't playing well, which I hope that that's not the case, I think that it might affect him also. But the only way you'll see Derek Carr get benched if Dennis Allen is no longer with the team. Like that's when I feel like you'll probably see that. But as long as Dennis Allen is the coach of the team, and I can't see the Saints actually firing Dennis Allen midway through the season, especially how the Saints operate. It seemed like they're about optics and how things look and how they, even though everybody can see how things look, they don't want to admit that how things look. I don't know. But, I don't see them firing. I feel like they will just allow this team to get slapped around all season long and then let Dennis Allen go at the end of the season, to give him like face as far as like, oh, he kept on fighting. So wherever this team ends up being, man, like hopefully this is a good season for the Saints. But if it's not a good season, then, it'll get bad. I think it'll continue to get bad because it don't seem like the organization really pays that much attention to what the fans actually want. I think that they feel like they got everything handled and fans don't really know that much about football and they don't take advice from fans. And that's fine. I don't respect for organization to take my advice about how things are going, but I don't feel like an organization should lie to themselves about where the team is at. That's why I feel like fans get upset. Like if a team is not doing well and the organization responds, I think fans will probably not say too much because they feel like, okay, y'all already got a good grasp on what's going on. But as far as the Saints, it just feels like the Saints are going to force the situation and try to force it to work, and they're going to try to exhaust it in every way possible. It's like having that old truck, like you had to get the motor fixed on that thing, the engine fixed, you had to get the Cadillac converter fixed, you had to get all these different things. And then all of a sudden, like it just starts smoking on the side of the road, you can't even get home, you got to push it out the street. That's what the Saints be at, on some of these decisions. Like they just constantly try to fix these situations, and it's probably pretty easier for you to go in a different direction. Probably easier for you to just go out here and get another car, but instead, you decide to try to, ride this thing till the wheels fall off, literally. Sometimes you just got to cut your losses. It's okay to admit when you're wrong. It's okay to admit you made a mistake. I just feel like people get upset when you act as if the mistake does not exist. Now, this is a new season. Once again, I just mentioned that it's 2024. So regardless to how 2023 was, the Saints still have an opportunity to actually do better. So let's hope that they do. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. I ask that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, I'm asking you to subscribe to the Gumbo Pie Sports podcast, which I'll go ahead and put that in the link right now, so everybody can catch it. Just watch the episode and tell me what you think. Like if it's not for you, then that's fine. But definitely want to try to grow the channel. It's a little different perspective. It's a different kind of a vibe over there. It's kind of me going back to like the classic State of the Saints podcast days. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we can actually build. We're just trying to build up some viewership and build up some subscribers there on that channel. So I'm asking you for your help, just to take a look at it. If you like it, then subscribe to the channel. Look, I'm not going to force anybody, subscribe to the channel. Like if you just want doses of the Saints, that's fine. But, we're talking some of the hottest topics in sports. We got the series up right now, 32 teams in 32 days. There's a lot of things going on in NFL right now and around college football that we're going to be addressing in the future. So be sure to check out the Gumbo Pod Sports podcast. Much love to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is, who that?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.